Hello guys, welcome back to ESENtaxa. Andrea Papito here, and in this video we are going to check the Portuguese Income Tax 2023. If you're new in this channel, ESENtaxa talks about how to optimize your taxation in a country you want to relocate into, and we are #1 channel on Italian optimization planning in long term. We also have in our channel a lot of information, a lot of tax strategies on Portugal, Belgium, and recently we added a new country in our list, which is Albania. Portugal is a country which is recognized worldwide thanks to the famous NHR program, which is basically the way of avoiding paying taxes on your foreign income. Of course, this is a very general description. We also have made a couple of videos, well, more than 2 videos about the NHR Portugal. So if you subscribe our channel and you browse our previous playlist on Portuguese videos, you will find a lot of information on the NHR program. But now, today, we are going to discuss about the Portuguese income tax in general cases. So why we have to know also this kind of information? Because we're going to understand exactly how Portugal works in general cases. In case you cannot apply for the NHR program, but you just want to move to Portugal and you want to understand exactly as tax resident, as ordinary tax resident, how much taxes you're going to pay in this country. Now, Portugal income tax in 2023 works with the tax bracket system, which is a quite common progressive taxation used worldwide. We have already seen in Italy, for example, in Belgium, that also in Albania, we have this progression tax system. How does it work? So the progression tax system works in this way. We have brackets, we have a certain kind of slot which represents the amount of income that you're earning for a specific tax year. From tax year means that we have an income generated between 1st of January up to the 31st of December. For example, if you earn up to 7,479 euro per year as a tax resident in Portugal, your professional income will be taxed at 14.5%. If you perceive an income higher than 7,479 up to 11,284, you're going to pay 21%. But the tax bracket system means that you pay 21% only on the second slot. You're not going to pay 21% also on the first bracket. So at the end, your taxation, if your income at the end of the year is 11,284, will be an average between those two percentages. Okay, and this is work for the rest of the progressive brackets. So between 11,284 up to 15,992, we have 26.5%. Between 15,992 and 20,700, we have 28.5% taxations. You see, it grows progressively based on your income. Above 20,700 up to 26,355, we have 35%. You see, in Portugal already we reach a taxation of 35% on this lot of income already at 26,000 euro. And this grows, it continues to grow up to the maximum tax rate, which is 48% on an income which is bigger than 78,834. So everything above this income, every income which is bigger than this amount of money will be taxed at 48%. So up to 78,000, you will have an average between this percentage, which is maybe something between, it could be, I would say, something about 35% on average on all your income up to 78,000, and then everything above will be taxed at 48%. As you can see, it's a big chunk, it's a big slice that the Portuguese state takes from their taxpayers when they become tax resident. And of course, you have also a general flat tax for dividends coming from abroad, for interests coming from abroad, which is a big 28%. So this is for capital gains, interest, dividends coming from abroad, etc., etc., etc. Of course, Portugal has several conventions to avoid the double taxation, which means that you are receiving income from abroad. Of course, you're going to tax credit those taxes with the Portuguese taxes that the Portugal wants to tax you on worldwide basis. What does it mean more precisely? It means that in a country from which you are perceiving a dividend, I don't know, like 15%, of dividend as a withholding tax, you're going to subtract this 15% of taxes against your 28% in Portugal. So the Portugal utilized the tax credit method system to avoid the double taxation. Now, for non-resident, because you might instead be not tax resident in Portugal, okay? So this is a situation where, for example, you have purchased a property in Portugal and you put it under rent, or you simply worked in Portugal. Again, you're not applying for the NHR scheme. Here we are talking about the general situations, and you just want to see how is taxed your source of income generated in Portugal. And since Portugal applies the territorial taxation on the income generated in the country, in the territory, you have a specific tax rate, which doesn't follow the progressive taxation as we have seen now, but it's just a simple flat tax of only 25%. Okay, so if you are not tax resident in Portugal, the income generated, it's subject to a withholding tax of 25% for professional incomes, for example. So this is for non-resident. It seems that Portugal is not a good destination because you're going to pay a lot of taxes. Of course, it's a good destination in case you want to enjoy the nice weather, life, low cost of living, very enjoyable country, but from the taxation point of view, it's not a good deal. Except if you apply for the NHR program, or there is another thing that a lot of people are not aware of, which is called simplified accounting for freelancer or self-employed. So instead of applying this progressive income tax rate that we have seen before, which is quite heavy, you have another option in Portugal, which is called the simple accounting. And this works only for freelancer. So if you have basically a business in which you can deduct costs, you have running a business as a sole trader, so you are a freelancer or are self-employed, okay? So if you're in this category and you are a Portuguese tax resident, and besides being this category, you have an income, or better, a revenue of less than 200,000 euro per year, you can apply for this simple accounting schema system. And here, for certain kind of business activity, might be more convenient than the NHR. Indeed, sometimes the accountant in Portugal, they always ask the client, but look, are you sure the NHR is the right schema for you? Because for certain kind of situations, for certain kind of code activities, you might exploit this simple accounting if your income is lower than 200,000 rather than apply for the NHR. This is a situation where you have only income generated in Portugal. So you want to move to Portugal, you want to apply for the NHR, you have the correct requirements, but you don't have any income from abroad. You just have your income as a professional business, and that's the only income. So the NHR makes no sense anymore. And then it makes sense more to explore this situation. So the idea is to see if the simple accounting, when you have only one type of income as this one, could be less taxed than the famous 20% flat tax under the NHR. If you remember, if you have seen our videos on NHR, you have this 20% flat tax as a professional income if you're producing income in Portugal, and then exclusion from the income coming from abroad. But this is a big 20%, it's not that low. So the question is, could the simple accounting allow you to pay less than 20% on NHR? The answer is, depends on the activity. There is a table published by the Portuguese government that actually tells you how to calculate the simple accounting for certain kind of activity. And for the majority of the activity, the simple accounting is not so convenient, but for a specific activity, I've here made an example, it might make more sense, because I'm going to explain exactly how it works. We have this coefficient. For example, if your business, it's about trading with services and goods, so if your business, it's about trading with goods, even if you are trading with crypto assets, not mining on crypto, but crypto assets, you have basically a coefficient of 0.15, and this coefficient has to be multiplied with your revenue. So you have 100,000 euro here, for example, might be your estimated revenue. It's, of course, it's lower than 200,000. And this is what you have to take into account as a taxable income, you see? So you have a 15,000 as a taxable income. This is the first step for the calculation of the simple accounting. The second step is to apply a fixed rate of 15%. This 15%, it's always valid for each kind of activity. The type of activity might change this coefficient, but not this one. So you multiply 15% on 100,000, and this is basically gives you, again, 15,000. And then the third step is to subtract your expenses, your deductible expenses, which are a fix of 4,104 plus other expenses, which might be also included the social contribution, the social security. And in the worst case, you can apply on the deduction of your expenses at the maximum 10% of your revenue. So this would be up to 10,000 euro as expenses, plus other expenses that are allowed, that are coherent with your business. So we might actually have reached 14,000 here, and here we have 30,000, here we have to subtract these two with 14,104, okay? Here we can also, as I said, add other expenses, and we can reach exactly 15,000 with other small expenses here and there, for example, purchasing a laptop and everything, and we have here 0. And this amount of money that we managed to reach up to 0, it has to be added to your taxable income, okay? For our specific case, 15,000 plus 0 is always 15,000, and 50,000 will be taxed at the Portuguese income tax rate. And 15,000 was taxed at the rate, as we've seen before, let me take the table, between 14.5% up to 26%, so 0.5%. So it's an average between 14.5 and 26.5, okay? Paying, let's say, something like 20% or less on only 15,000 euro as a taxable income, of course is less than pay 20% on 100,000 under the NHR. You see? I know that the calculation is a little bit complex, but I'm going to summarize again the steps, just to allow you to understand more clearly. Okay? So, again, we have to check in our Portuguese tax agency website which kind of activity we want to perform in Portugal as freelancer or self-employed. Based on this activity, we can see if you manage to apply the simple accounting mechanism if our revenue is lower than 200,000 euro. Okay? Now, based on still on this activity, we check the coefficient for trading goods. If you are a commercial, if you are a commerciant, or if you basically are applying the drop shipping business, for example, this will be a coefficient of 0.15%. Of course, if you are a general consultant, the coefficient could be 0.75%. And then all this calculation, it gives you a higher numbers, and then it's not more convenient in comparison with the NHR. So we multiply the coefficient with the revenue, and we keep this value here. Second step, we multiply a fixed rate of 15% decided by the government with our revenue, and we subtract this value with a fixed amount of deductible expenses. This is a fixed amount that the government decide, plus the social contribution, 10,000 euro, because it can be the social contribution here can be at the maximum 10% of the revenue, plus eventual other small expenses coherent with your business. Then we sum all this money, we subtract with this step number 2, and we have an amount of money that we have to add at the initial first step. Now, in our case, we managed to reach 0 because here the coefficient is very low, and we have some expenses. But if here the coefficient would be more higher, we are not managed to squeeze down this number, and we have to add what we have here at the top of our income. And this will be part of the calculation for the taxation that goes inside the Portuguese income tax. And then we have a certain percentage that multiplied for this value has to be compared with the NHR, which is only 20% flat rate on your entire revenue. Okay, so, and then here it's a matter just of calculation, and see that sometimes the simple accounting makes more sense rather than NHR. Again, it's all about tax simulation, it's all about a consultancy service that we can provide you. In the description below the video, you will find our email contact, or alternatively, you can have a 50-minute consultancy call for free, in which we can drive you through our services, and we can understand exactly what is your best solution for you, for Portugal, Belgium, Italy, and also, presently, also Albania. If you like this kind of content, subscribe the channel, notification bell, and like button to be always updated whenever we release new video and interesting information about these countries and other countries. Thank you, see you the next time.